Hi, my name is Tom, and welcome to my channel, Peaceful Soldier, where we share ideas, information, and insight on spiritual growth, awakening, and finding our true purpose. I'd like to share with you a valuable lesson I learned about how our egos can sometimes get in the way and turn a situation into a direction that we don't want, rather than if we don't react from our egos, things can go much smoother. To give you a little background, 4 years ago, I was in a highly stressful job. My whole world came crumbling down. I ended up in the hospital and I completely changed my lifestyle, and that's what kind of prompted me on my spiritual path, my spiritual journey. I cut back on that job tremendously, only working a couple days a week. And in order to supplement my income, I started working part-time at a Home Depot, which was a really humbling and valuable experience. Um, I have other stories to tell about Home Depot, but I'll put that in different videos. Today I want to talk about this one particular day because I really learned a valuable lesson. Um, when I'm in Home Depot, if you have to go to the men's room, you have to walk through the whole store from the department I was in. One day I'm heading towards the men's room, and as I'm walking, I see this woman, and she's on one of those little, the motorized go-karts that you have in the stores. And I could see just by the look on her face that she was very frustrated, and she spotted me. And I was like, oh boy, I could tell when a customer's going to give you a hard time, you can just tell that look in their face. And but she had already seen me and flagged me down, so I stopped. She was looking for shower heads or something, and she was all like, where are the shower heads? And so I sent her down one of the aisles and went off to the men's room. And when I came back from the men's room, I could see that she was coming down that aisle again, and she had a really frustrated look on her face now. She was angry, and I knew she wanted the shower heads. And then I looked, and I realized they were right there on the main aisle where she had stopped me in the first place. But she came around and she was like, you told me the shower heads were down there, and they're not down there, and so I said, they're right here. They must have changed the display. And she started going off on me. She was like, you can never find anything in this store. And I really was like, my first reaction was like, get a grip, bitch. Like, I was pissed that she was speaking to me in that way. So I said to her, I looked at her and I was like, everything's going to be okay. Like, I wanted her to know that she couldn't be rude to me. And then that was it. She started, spouting off, nothing is ever okay in this store. You can never find anything. Nobody ever helps you, blah, blah. And that's when I realized, I looked at her and I saw how upset she was, and I realized that it had absolutely nothing to do with me. That she was really upset about something else totally inside, and that she was hurting inside. So I completely, dropped my ego because I saw that this was a person who was really suffering. And I went over to her and I put my hand on her back. I said, is everything okay? Are you okay? And then she really started sobbing, and she was, trembling. And I said, take a deep breath. Everything's going to be okay. Like, take a deep breath. And I got her to take a deep breath and calm down. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, oh, it's just that I'm not used to this life. I can't stand having to use this cart and everything. And I can't stand the fact that I can't walk anymore. And anyway, I ended up learning and discovering that she had MS. And it had all just happened to her. She was diagnosed recently. And this was a woman who was maybe in her late 30s. So of course, all of a sudden, I felt like such a jerk, first of all, for overreacting or, thinking she was being rude to me when it was really just this issue. And told her that I had a friend who had MS. I can only imagine how she felt, but started to sympathize with her and get her to talk a little bit. And then she had a whole shopping list of things to get. And I said, what's next on your list? So I helped her through the whole store. I helped her in every aisle get everything she needed and check everything off of her list, and was chatting her up along the way. And by the time we turned the last aisle to get the last thing she wanted to get on her list, she went from that woman who was so upset and crying to, like, I saw her come around the corner in her cart and she was all happy, and I realized, wow, what a difference it make. If I had just stayed in that other frame of mind, it would have been, I would have given her the shower head and that would have been it. But by taking that moment to go a little deeper and to really help her, I ended up having an amazing experience. When we got the last thing, we had chatted a lot along the way. When we put the last thing into her cart, I asked her name. She said her name was Jennifer. And I just said, Jennifer, is it okay if I give you a hug? And she said, well, yes. And I gave her a big hug. And I have to tell you, that exchange, I mean, I just felt her kind of like breathe it in. She just needed that strength and that connection in that moment. And it did something for me as well. I felt really good about that. It helped me also. So it turns out that, I was going to be off, and we said our goodbyes, and I was going to be off in a few minutes. And then when I'm walking out of the store, she was just checking out. And she said, oh, there he is. There's Tom, which means that she was probably relaying the story to the cashier. And then I ended up helping her out to her car with her things. And we had another whole great conversation about her dog and how she adopted her dog and how my wife also works at a rescue center for dogs. And it was just such a nice exchange. And I learned such a valuable lesson that day, to not react from my ego, to always understand that, no, it's your perception of how things are, and you can change it like that. And how in the end, we both ended up getting something valuable from that situation. So that's my story. And what is the lesson here? What I said. Don't overreact. Don't take things personally. And when you can help someone like that, you help yourself. Hope you enjoyed that story. Come back for more. Bye.